What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Nerdgasm, the Fandom Debate League. This is match number 4 in round 1. We have Jay Burnz taking on Eli McCaig in what is going to be an interesting clash. But I'm not joined by just competitors today. I do have our judges as well joining us today as well. The co-commissioner, it's his turn to be a little under the weather, so he got me hosting today. One Cody Newberry. Cody, how are you feeling today?
About 75%. I'm on my way back up. I'm ready to be a dickhead pretty soon, but not right now. This one is one of the matchups that I'm looking forward to the most because of two people that actually know a ton about fandom. To let them debate is going to be fun. Again, Jay O's that has that moment of mass hysteria, of snap back to reality. I will always say that's one of the best debate questions that I thought he was going to lose hands down by pitching and then ended up winning. And Eli has proven that you don't doubt him. If you doubt him, you end up either KO'd, TKO'd, or beaten on the last question, regardless. So it's interesting to see debate if he can match that style, and Jay if he can counter Jay's wackiness. Plus, they have mutual respect for each other, so that's always a good. It's a good debate when that happens.
One of the things that I loved in the green room was actually the passion for the questions. These guys seem to love what we're debating, so I'm hoping that passion is sort of put out in a positive way in this debate. But joining us as well today, our third judge, the other Canadian on stream. We need more Canadians as judges. That is the one Canadian nightmare, Harley Borch. Harley, how are we doing today, and how do you feel up with Jay versus Eli?
It's a little chilly out there because I'm in Canada and we're getting lots of snow right now, so I'm happy to be staying inside and helping you out. But that's the price you pay for living in beautiful Canada. Just Ontario, PEI is awesome as well.
Unfortunately, it has stormed here the last couple of days. So yeah, fun times. But let us actually get into the minds of our competitors. Starting off with one Jay Burnz. Jay, like Cody mentioned previously, you had one of the weirdest pitches for Avengers 4, but somehow it worked. How do you feel going into this match with a little bit more experience against Eli?
I'm gonna say the exact same thing I said when I went against Dom. This is gonna be fun, and regardless, I just want to show that I can make you laugh, but I also have the ability to come up with a cogent thought every now and then, and I hope to bring that to the table.
All right. Well, best of luck to you, sir. And your opponent today has to be coming off one of the biggest highs in the community, winning the multiplex gauntlet match, ousting 9 other competitors. That is the showman, Eli McCaig. Eli, how are you feeling today making your Nerdgasm debut against Jay?
Well, I'm doing pretty good, and I have to say that I do have a problem sometimes with repeating myself because I like to make sure those points are made and that everyone remember that those are very important points that I like to make. But hey, that's okay because I really enjoy debating when it comes to nerdy and fandom stuff because I really do. I'm very passionate about all this stuff, and I really hope that Jay and we have a fun match, that we enjoy having this competition with each other. And yeah, let's hope we have fun.
All right. Well, to go over the rules and the form of the match, each competitor got to draft a couple of categories from the various categories that is Fandom Movies, Fandom TV. Once the categories were drafted, we gave them the questions, 3 prep questions and 2 speedrun questions. Obviously, they don't have speedrun questions. They submitted their answers for prep form. For each of the prep questions, there's going to be a minute opening, followed by a 5-minute free form, and then a 4.5-second closing for each competitor. General rules and regulations. No filibustering, don't be dickheads, and no touching of the hair or face. Any questions before we start?
Yeah, I touch my face a lot.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's get right into it. The first category that was drafted by, I believe, Eli was Arrowverse. And the question that Cody and I came up with was, who is the best sidekick in Arrowverse? Jay, since you are the higher-end competitor, you got to answer first, and you will actually be going first. So you have 1 minute for an opening remark. Time begins whenever you start talking.
All right. So I chose as the best sidekick in the Arrowverse, Cisco Ramon. The man is not just a tech guy. He's not just comic relief. He is he's an integral part. He is the glue of this team. Even when Caitlin Snow fucked off, the only person who really had Barry's back was Cisco. That's the reason why I choose him. He is the embodiment of what a sidekick should be. And I don't really have anything else. I'm not going to spend another 45 seconds talking.
All right. Well, patented late night take 3 approach, ending quite a bit early there. We'll see if that pays off. We now move into Eli's opening remarks. You have 1 minute if you'd like. Time begins whenever you start talking.
For the Arrowverse and its sidekicks, I looked through all of them from Arrow, Supergirl, Flash. I looked through all of them and tried to determine which one was the best. And ultimately, it came down to the one that I believe that sort of started the trend of sidekick, and I chose John Diggle, aka Spartan. Now, the reason why that I chose John Diggle is because when you look all the way at the beginning, he was there and he was the one that helped Oliver in his mission from the beginning. And he is still helping Oliver, no matter how many trials and tribulations they've gone to. Whenever you look at John Diggle as a character and as a partner to Oliver, he is always there. He's helping Oliver get back up after Oliver goes through a lot of negative things in his life. Throughout all the hardships that Oliver has gone through, John Diggle's always been there and said, hey, man, it's going to be okay. I got your back. Let's try to fix this. No matter what John Diggle is.
Time. Cool. Sorry. Jessica Morgan rule. I will not say time more than twice. So we now go into the 5-minute free form. I will give you just a 1-minute warning. So I will just sort of pepper in 1-minute warning, but just keep going whenever I say that. All right, guys, 5 minutes. Let's get it on.
All right. John Diggle didn't even want to be a sidekick, and you said it yourself in your statement. He is more of a partner than he is a sidekick. He is that guy who will always have his back. He is a great friend, but he's not even like a part of Team Arrow right now, if I'm to be 100% sure. He's fucked off with
if we're going to go into that, if we're going to go into that debate right now about if John Diggle is a partner and a sidekick, you can say the exact same thing about Cisco. Cisco, I wouldn't even determine as a sidekick. I would say Cisco is more of a partner because Cisco is the one that makes all of the tech for the Flash, and Cisco is very much a partner. But even like if you look at the entire catalog of the Flash's heroes and Team Flash, Wally West, Kid Flash is more of a sidekick because Barry was constantly training Wally to be as good as he was. Whereas for Cisco and Barry, they were very much on the same power level, and very much he never had to train Cisco. When you see Diggle and Oliver together, they're always training with each other. And even there are times when Diggle had to take up the arrow, and Oliver had to train him and say, hey, this is how you have to handle the arrow. This is how you have to handle being this character that is me.
They're sparring to make sure that they don't get out of practice. That's not necessarily training. And at the exact same point in time, what do you want in a sidekick? Somebody who contributes something to the team other than just being there? He's literally just there to give them a pat on the back and a pep talk every now and then. You have...
Well, if that's the case, then Cisco's only there to help lighten the mood whenever the team is feeling bad, and that's
he is comic relief, but at least
what he is there for. He is the comic relief. That is what Cisco is. He is just there for comedy.
Does for Team Arrow. What I'm saying is that John Diggle doesn't really do anything for Team Arrow, and now that he's off helping Argus,
no, John Diggle is right there. John Diggle is with him at all times whenever he is feeling bad. When you need someone to have your back, Diggle is there. When Cisco is there, he's just there to make stuff for him and sort of be there for happiness and all that. Without John Diggle, Oliver probably wouldn't be the man he is today. You could easily take Cisco out of the equation of Flash, and Flash would still be the Flash.
And Cisco would still be Cisco. But what I'm saying is, there's this
That to that point, Cisco isn't a sidekick. He's more of a partner. Again, you take Cisco out, the Flash is the Flash. You don't technically need Cisco. Whenever you see Oliver and Diggle, you need Diggle to help Oliver.
You really don't, though. Because what happens? You have this green-suited asshole who shows up and shoots people, and you have his buddy standing right next to him punching somebody. What would you rather have? Somebody who has meta powers or somebody who has a finite amount of bullets watching your back?
I would rather have someone that I could trust. I would rather have someone that I can trust, and Oliver can trust Diggle. Diggle is always someone that Oliver can trust in, and I'd rather have someone that I can trust instead of just a meta that I may think, oh, he's going to quip a joke now. I would rather have someone by my side that I can trust, and that's exactly what John Diggle is.
I need a little bit of that brevity, but at the exact same point in time, if Moira Queen had not hired Diggle, it would have been somebody else. It was just pure happenstance that he happened to be that one person, and he never wanted to be.
That's the same with Cisco.
But Cisco would be a meta still, even without Barry.
Yeah, exactly. What you just said. That way, that means that Cisco wouldn't have to be with Barry. Because he's with Barry,
but he's there by choice. But he's there by choice.
And so that doesn't make him a sidekick. That makes him a partner. And your entire argument is that Cisco is there and he doesn't have to be there. If you take Cisco away from the Flash, Flash is fine by himself. I'm saying if Diggle is not there, then Oliver would not be the man that we know him today, who is a strong, mildly stable man. And Diggle is the person that you need Diggle to help him. A sidekick is there because you need them.
That is 100% purely speculative. You can't say that he wouldn't be the person that he is today.
But again,
he doesn't shape everything he does. Again, he's just there to pat him on the back. Cisco,
look, a sidekick is someone that you need. Oliver needs Diggle. Barry doesn't need Cisco. Barry is smart by himself.
Need Diggle.
Time. All right. Interesting. Nice back and forth there. Props to you guys for keeping the back and forth. So we now move into closing arguments. Eli, you are going to be going first. Please have your arguments to a nice little bow and present them to Harley in some sort of WWE memorabilia.
So when you think of John Diggle, I always present him as the person that Oliver needs. When you think of sidekicks, the hero needs the sidekick. With the entire argument that Jay was bringing up, even when you were thinking of Cisco as a partner, because of that, Flash doesn't need Cisco. Cisco can be by himself, and Barry can be by himself. When you see Oliver and Diggle, Oliver needs Diggle because without Diggle, he wouldn't be a stable individual. And also, Oliver needs Diggle because there are times when Oliver was going to die, and Diggle was the only person that had the know-how and the medical know-how to save him. Without Diggle, Oliver would probably be dead, and Oliver would not be in the right of mind. And that's what sidekicks are, someone that you need.
Time. All right. We're now moving to Jay's closing arguments. 45 seconds, wrap up your thoughts, and present them into some sort of Boston Red Sox memorabilia for Cody, because, yay, Red Sox in the winter.
Boston, Flash, both have red with you. But at the exact same point in time, think about it. Cisco's the one who helped build his suit. Diggle, happenstance. He could have been anybody, and it could be anybody. It just happened to be him. He never wanted to be a sidekick, and he's not even a part of the team at this point. He is with Argus. He is number 2 at this spot helping his wife instead of helping his quote-unquote best friend and the person he is a sidekick to. But you don't see that with Cisco. What you see with Cisco is somebody who is consistently there helping his team and the person he's with move forward and become a better hero. You don't have to read the fight.
Okay, cool, sure. Interesting. All right. Interesting arguments given by both competitors. I'm still not sure who I'm giving my point to, so I'm going to pass it off to Cody. Cody, based on the arguments provided, who gets your point and why?
I'm not sure who I'm giving my point to, so I'm going to pass it to Harley. No, I'm just kidding. This was really interesting. This is probably the most debate of random shit that I don't understand at all. I've seen the first season of The Flash, so I at least know one, but that's not the reason why I would go get anything. What mainly sold it was in the closing, because as Eli was giving his closing, I was like, damn, well done, Eli. Here's the point. But then Jay talked. And I was like, damn, Jay, good point. I'm going to give Jay the point on this one, but I can, again, that's why we have 3 judges. I could be wrong. I just think that Jay brought more and put Eli on the defensive to have to defend stuff. And instead of actually bringing up creative points for himself, he had to really cover it, which was smart on Jay's part. But I wouldn't be surprised if you guys go the other way on this, really.
I am going to go next, and I am actually going to go the other way. I'm going to give my point to Eli. I think he really sold it in the closing, and he was really able to, like we often say, like sort of wrap up the ideas and sort of present them in the overall theme. And I think the theme that he brought of how dependent the sidekick is to Arrow just really sold me. So I'm going to go point to Eli, which means Harley, it comes down to you. Based on arrogance divided, who gets the first point of the night?
Okay. In a lot of ways, it kind of comes down to your definition of what a psychic is. And is it more of a partner, or is it like kind of like an underling, if you will, kind of like a little bit of like Batman and Robin, like how it if you know how I'm trying to word that, like they're not better than the main, but they help out the main character so much, but don't overshadow. But and as someone who's never watched any of the Arrowverse, I'm going into this fight completely blind. But by the definition of what I think a psychic is, I am also going to have to probably give it to Eli as well.
So that means that Eli does get our first point of the match. I'm kind of surprised. It was very back and forth, but really good job there, guys. We now move into question number 2. Oh boy, am I excited for these answers, because some of them are in really left field. The second category that was drafted was Wizarding World, and we decided to give these guys, we gave them the best in Arrowverse. Let's give them the worst. So the question was, what is the worst Harry Potter character? All right, so Eli, you will be going first. You have 1 minute opening remarks. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Whenever I think of the worst character in Harry Potter, I'm trying to think of the worst character, the one character that really didn't do anything once he was introduced. And to me, that character was Peter Pettigrew. When he was introduced in Prisoner of Azkaban, he had this big thing, and everyone was pushing him all the way to the forefront. But then right after that, his character became useless. Sure, in Goblet of Fire, he brought back Voldemort, but right after that, he became nothing. He just became an underling of Voldemort that really didn't matter to the full scheme of things. And even at the end of the 7th book, he later died because of the hand that he was given. Which, to me, when you think of that entire run of the character, that's a really horrible run, and I really don't think that the character is really worth any recognition to the entire Harry Potter franchise.
All right. Cool. We'll now move into Jay for his 1 minute opening. Time begins and everything talking. Man, am I interested to hear this.
Okay, so hear me out. I think I went a different route. I went worst character. If you think about it, the worst character in all of the books and the movies is the man who sets Harry up to die at the end, manipulates events around his entire life. I chose Dumbledore as the worst character. Not because he's not portrayed by 2 great actors, not because of certain choices of, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? None of that shit. But literally, just as a character, if you think about it, this man is evil, he's manipulative, he allows things to go on, he allows stuff to happen that if you're the strongest wizard in the world and everybody is quoted as saying you're the greatest wizard that's ever lived or the greatest headmaster ever, should never be allowed to happen under your watch. Dumbledore is the worst character in Harry Potter.
Time. Interesting. All right. Okay, we now move into 5 minutes of free form. Once again, just no filibustering. You guys did a pretty good job of that with the last question. So let's get it on.
I think
Okay, look, you talk about Dumbledore being the worst character. All he was doing was following a prophecy that he read, that he heard about. When you look at Peter Pettigrew, he honestly does nothing after Voldemort comes back. He is literally just there. Whenever you think of Peter Pettigrew, he's like, "Oh, hello, I'm here. I'm Voldemort's henchman." And then right after that, right after this big thing that he did, he kills himself because of a hand that Voldemort gave him. That is literally everything his character does. Dumbledore does more. He does. If you read the books, he does kill himself.
He doesn't kill himself. He doesn't choke himself to death. The hand chokes him. That hand was gifted to him by Voldemort. After he decided that he was going to let them go, he gets choked to death. A redemption arc does not make somebody a bad character.
But it's hard to do a redemption arc when the character is barely there.
What makes somebody a bad character is grooming a child to die. To sit here and literally say, hey, look, I know for a fact that you're fucking the place that you're at is emotionally abusive. You could be under some of the strongest magic of all time and be protected and still be allowed to survive, even with the love
However,
curse.
though you're thinking of that entire thing, Dumbledore is a better character than Peter Pettigrew, because when you look at Dumbledore alone, when you look at him, he is the one character that actually does more things than Peter Pettigrew. Dumbledore is the one that helps Harry get out of that horrible situation. He's the one that helped. He is the one that is behind Harry the entire time. When everyone is doubting Harry Potter, he is like, "Oh, I am with Harry Potter with this entire thing."
Oh wait,
Peter Pettigrew
talking about that
literally does nothing.
He didn't talk to him after he watched Cedric Diggory die in the graveyard? Because no, he's not. If you think about it, the only reason Dumbledore even associates himself with Harry Potter isn't because he's the boy who lived. It isn't even about the prophecy. They've chosen, Voldemort chose Harry, so he decided to do that. It would be the exact same thing if it went with Neville. You really cannot argue whether or not somebody's good when they only have 12 minutes of screen time. Or, I'm sorry, if they're the worst character with only 12 minutes of screen time. That man has Stockholm Syndrome. Doesn't make him.
And even to go through it, if you want to look at a worst character, when you look at worst character, thank you for bringing that up, because Peter Pettigrew betrayed Harry's parents. If you want to talk about people that is only there for the bad things of Harry Potter, Peter Pettigrew betrayed his parents.
You never get to see it on screen. It's never said by him. It's always. It does, though. That's just it. You want to talk about a bad character, then you need to show why that person's a bad character. You cannot just sit there and say, "Oh, hey, look, this dude did this, and this is why he's a bad character."
And Remus Lupin have always said, "No, this person is bad. We know
and
that
who
he
didn't believe them, and who didn't fucking follow through with that? Dumbledore, who let Sirius Black sit in Azkaban prison."
Because he didn't know. Dumbledore didn't know that Sirius Black wasn't a bad person, but Sirius Black always knew it was Peter Pettigrew. But Dumbledore didn't know.
As Lupin came through, no, it's all good. No, that's bullshit. You can't. No, miss me with that. And first off, let's go back to it. Especially talking about wizard prisons. When Tom Riddle opened up the Chamber of Secrets the first time and Moaning Myrtle died, they just kind of fucking threw it off to the side. He knew it was Tom Riddle, but what they do, they allowed him to take Hagrid away. They allowed him to break his wand. He got kicked out. He got expelled, and then he brought him back. That's a backhanded fucking compliment. Oh yeah, you got kicked out, but be our groundskeeper. Dumbledore is the vilest character. He is the opposite side of the coin to Voldemort. And I feel bad for Wormtail. I don't feel bad the longer I go into the books and the longer I go into the movies. For Dumbledore. When I see Dumbledore, what I see is a man trying to be a grandfather to somebody, and then I see the manipulation start. I see him become this.
You can't just think about all that stuff there. You also have to think of the politics that Dumbledore has to go through with the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Magic is seeing all this that that is happening in Hogwarts, and Dumbledore were to do nothing to it and be like, "Oh no, you're not doing anything to Hagrid, who is accused of killing someone. You shouldn't be here." So Dumbledore is trying to fully on, like, look, okay, I understand Ministry. I'll follow your rules, but I don't care about your rules. I'm gonna have Hagrid still here.
And then
Look,
doesn't go
screw
along
you,
with anything
and I
that the
understand,
ministry
but I'm still
does?
gonna have him here.
It then doesn't go along with anything the ministry does and goes on the run. What did he say? I believe
Time.
you were mistaken.
Wow. That was really good. All right, we now move into the closing segments. We start off with Mr. Burnz first. You have 45 seconds to wrap up your argument and present it to the judges. Time begins whenever you start talking.
I didn't get a chance to bring up the fact that he also allowed Professor Quirrell, the man who had Voldemort's soul literally on the back of his head, to teach at the school, and could have done something about it, could have stopped it, didn't. Let's see. He again didn't stop Harry from being an emotionally abused child. He let Tom Riddle open the Chamber of Secrets. He's constantly endangering students. Everybody says he's the greatest at what he does, yet somehow, if this was anywhere in the real world, not even suspension of disbelief beside, if you knew that there were werewolves and shit in the fucking forest, would you be a great principal and say, hey, look, I'm going to let my students go out there? No. Again, I think we're getting off topic because we don't see the fact that he literally groomed Harry Potter to die at the end of the books and the movies.
Time. Love that you ended right on the dot. That gets bonus points in my books, but Canadian points mean nothing. Eli, your closing remarks, 45 seconds. Please wrap up your arguments and present to the judges. Time begins whenever you start talking.
It's very difficult in the world of politics to agree with everyone, and that's what Dumbledore is. He's in the world of politics, and he has to agree with everyone and make everyone happy. Purposely betrayed his friends. He purposely risen a former overlord, Dark Lord, and he ended up dying like a chump. That's exactly why he is the worst character, because he is someone that was there, he did one special thing, but then he never did anything right after that.
Okay.
Thank you for making my point.
So
All right.
done there.
So, all right, I'm gonna go first, and then I'll pass it off to the other judges. Jay had this right from the get go for me. The man could sell ice to an Eskimo at this point for me. I think he gave an interesting perspective of, like, from an outside looking in, of like, this guy let all this shit happen, and I think all the substance that he had was really able to sort of like squash Eli. How it was more like, oh, Peter Pettigrew had like 12 minutes of this. He didn't really do much, so for him to be like a bad character, like, there needs to be something there. So I was really sold on Jay. He gets my point, but I am not the only judge here. I am going to go to Harley next. Harley, based on the argument provided, who gets your point and why?
Okay, so it's based an argument on not the fact that there needs to be like 50 fact checks there. Like, but yeah, no, in a lot of the ways, I thought this year was going to be a very, very interesting, but like you said, unfortunately it was a slaughter. Jay just he was constantly on the attack, and in this case, being on the attack was the right thing for him to do, and just pepper in examples of why Dumbledore is a horrible, horrible person. If you really listen to what he said, but unfortunately, Eli, you just kept focusing on. Basically, a lot of it was focusing on he brought back the Dark Lord and he died like a chump.
All right, so Jay does get the point here, but Cody does not seem to agree with us. So I'm going to go into his thoughts first. How would you explain why?
No, I don't even think I was more confused with the fact check. I was completely on board with Jay from the start. I don't think Jay said anything that was too outlandish or too out of stretch. He is now the most feared person I have to ever debate against, because behind the curtain, we literally shared these answers with a ton of people, and they all thought you were absolutely nuts. But you did a perfect spin on this. That is a well-created debate, and it will probably go down as one of my favorite debates I've ever watched. Again, I don't agree that Peter Pettigrew is a worse character, but you definitely, I'm hoping that I get the Men in Black eraser. So next time I watch Harry Potter, I don't think Dumbledore's a fucking monster. So thanks for that.
All right, so Jay is able to tie things up, which means that we will eventually get into speed round. But before we get into speed round, we need to move into prep question number 3. Next category that was drafted was animated heroes. So Cody said, Brooklyn, I do not know anything about animated heroes. I'm going to give you the rights of this question here. So I was like, what do I love about animated heroes? And that is voice acting. So I decided to go into the realm of Justice League Unlimited. And the question presented to both competitors was, other than the great Kevin Conroy, what was the best performance in Justice League Unlimited? All right, so Jay, you will be going first in this argument. Excuse me. You have 1 minute opening. Time begins whenever you start talking.
All right, so this is best voice performance in Justice League Unlimited. This does not include the Justice League, or I would have chosen Mark Hamill's Joker as the obvious and clear winner. Not being able to do that, I still went with the villain route. I still went with a man who delivers. I'm sorry.
Sorry, my bad.
No, you're good. I went with a man who delivers spine-tingling, to steal a word from John Roca, has gravitas. I went with Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor in Justice League Unlimited. This man right here is still, when I read a Superman comic, when I watch anything, even if it's on mute or low volume, I hear Clancy Brown when I see him. Clancy Brown has the one of the most iconic voices in all of voice acting.
Interesting. Okay, we now move on to Eli next. Eli, you have 1 minute of opening. Time begins whenever you start talking.
When I look at Justice League Unlimited, I mainly look at the characters that I believe have the strongest growth, and the ones because of the performers. And when I looked at it, I saw that Phil Lamar playing John Stewart Green Lantern is the character that, in my opinion, had the strongest growth, and the one that had the greatest portrayal. When you see Green Lantern at the very beginning of Justice League Unlimited, he's a very hard-nosed, hey, you have to do it this way, this way, this way, and this way. And by the end of Justice League Unlimited, he's very much, no, you did good, kid. I'm very proud of you. And he has a strong character growth. And Phil Lamar's portrayal of every single aspect of John Stewart is heartwarming. He makes you disagree with him because he makes you disagree with the character because the character is a soldier, and he makes you believe that the character was a soldier. But then when it gets to the heartwarming side with Vixen and Shaira, you feel the love that the man has in Justice League Unlimited.
All right, cool. All right, gentlemen, 5 minutes of freeform. I'm really curious to hear these arguments. Let's get it on.
Okay, the reason why I would not say Clancy Brown is the greatest, is the best performance, is because I've heard it so many times, and it slowly has gotten to the point where he is just, though I don't believe he is, it could be considered that he is going through the motions of playing Lex Luthor again. When you look at Phil Lamar, when he was first casted in this show, and I'm going to go with this, in Justice League, it was a character that you never understood, you didn't know who he was, and you weren't expecting it. Then bringing it over to Justice League Unlimited, that character became even stronger because of Justice League Unlimited, with adding extra dimensions. When you see Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor, it's a character that we've already seen, and it's with a voice that we've already understood. And sure, he is the only voice for Lex Luthor at this point, but at the exact same time, we've heard it so many times. When you see Phil Lamar as John Stewart, you hadn't really seen it or heard it a lot. And with him portraying the character through so many seasons, even in Justice League Unlimited, through so many seasons and so many episodes, you began to feel the character. Whereas Lex Luthor, he only appeared in so many episodes that
but that's the thing.
Lex Luthor.
So Clancy Brown only appears in so many episodes, but when Clancy Brown's on screen, even as Lex Luthor, what do you focus on? You focus on that menacing voice. You focus on that person. This is the person who brought the Legion of Doom into the Justice League Unlimited. This is not the...
Technically, if I were to fact check you on that, Gorilla Grodd brought the Legion of Doom into the...
Are we fact checking on that?
Because of that final season.
Who runs the Legion of Doom, though? But who really runs the Legion of Doom, though? Are we talking, is it Gorilla Grodd? No, it's not. It's Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is the man who manipulates everybody and tries to get what he wants. What you have with John Stewart is the same bland voice that Phil Lamar has provided with
I have to
every
disagree
character.
with you on that
Hold
because Phil Lamar does not
I
bring the
wasn't done
same
making my point.
bland, quote
I
unquote.
wasn't done making my point, though. But that's the thing. When you ask somebody, you even said it yourself, he was the best Lex Luthor. When you think of Phil Lamar, I almost said Hal Jordan. Jon Stewart is not the voice that you think of. You think of Samurai Jack and you think of Hermes from Futurama. Those are the two characters that you think of, that most people think of when they hear Phil Lamar. When you
I
think
have
of
to
Clancy
disagree
Brown,
with you. When you hear Phil Lamar's voice, you think, "Oh, that's Jon Stewart." I remember because Justice League Unlimited was an amazing show, and he did terrific in that character. You said it when you read, even when you were even saying when you read the comic books of Lex Luthor, you hear Clancy Brown's voice. When I read Jon Stewart in the comic books, I think of Phil Lamar's voice because without Phil Lamar bringing that emotion, that love that he brought. Again, to me, Phil Lamar is the stronger performer because he added more growth to a character that I wasn't even sure even existed. I didn't even know the character existed. With Lex Luthor, I knew he existed, and I knew what Clancy Brown could bring, and that's what he brought. Phil Lamar, he brought something that I didn't even know existed in the character.
I knew that Jon Stewart existed as well, but you know what Clancy Brown has over Phil Lamar's fucking I'm gonna say it again. Jon Stewart, actual emotional range instead of this monotonous, I'm still down here like this and good on you.
You think Phil Lamar only has a bland voice? No, Phil Lamar has emotional range.
No, I don't.
When you think of Clancy Brown, Clancy Brown only has the menace. The menace. When you hear Clancy Brown's voice, you only hear the menace.
That is not true. Look at when he's sitting there and they're talking to Amazo, and Amazo is trying to destroy them. He sits there, and yes, it's still emotionally manipulative, but it's not just a bland, menacing voice. You can actually hear emotion behind it. When I think of Jon Stewart, I think of Idris Elba because that's who should play him. When I think of
just because you think of the question is not who you want to play.
You're right, it's not.
John, the question is, look, I don't even think of Idris Elba. I think of Phil Lamar because Phil Lamar, in my opinion, and I believe it is the right opinion in this scenario, is the one that brought more emotion and brought character to this character that had never been seen before. When you if you look at the episodes that are just about Hawkman, Hawkgirl, and Green Lantern, those two episodes brought enough emotion to that one character that I believe that character was real. I felt the love that Jon Stewart felt for Shayera, and I felt the love that he felt for Vixen. That character
he's reading his shit deadpan and just adding a little gravel to his voice. No, dude, that does not make a good voice actor. But like I said,
Clancy Brown is not changing anything when he's doing Lex Luthor's voice. He's doing the Lex Luthor voice, which is I'll even go further. Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor voice.
Judges, please dock anything said past 5 minute mark on the record, please. I do have some fact checking, but I will do that after closing remarks. So we'll be going to Eli first. 45 seconds. Wrap up your thoughts and present them to the judges accordingly.
When you say Clancy Brown is better when he plays Lex Luthor, Clancy Brown is just doing his voice. It's just his regular voice. Phil Lamar is doing a character voice when he plays Jon Stewart. And Jon Stewart, while Phil Lamar is playing Jon Stewart, he's adding the love and emotion, and he's playing a military man. The reason why you say he's monotonous is because a lot of military men are monotonous. But when he plays it, he adds that extra dimension that nobody thinks of. And when you see him with Supergirl and Hawkgirl and Vixen, that's when his emotion is coming out. He is a believable character, while Clancy Brown is constantly just doing his voice. And that's what Lex Luthor is, just his Clancy Brown voice.
All right. Interesting. Jay, closing arguments, the last of the prep round. 45 seconds, time begins whenever you're talking.
That's the beauty of it. Clancy Brown's voice is so menacing. It has such this thing that hooks you in that he didn't need to change it up. You're talking about adding emotion to him when you have other characters around. But if it's just Lex Luthor by himself, what are you drawn in by? What do you focus on? You focus on this man's speaking. You focus on the way this man does what he does and the reasons why he does it. Jon Stewart, really, again, I will hammer the point home. And I know Eli said that he was the one who repeats himself. I'll repeat myself. He's monotonous. He has no emotion behind his voice because he's doing a voice, whereas Clancy Brown can add emotion because it's just his voice being changed.
Time. Alrighty. So, I think the first time in Nerdgasm, a bit of a fact check. I did look it up. Gorilla Grodd did start the Legion of Doom, but although it was taken over by Lex Luthor. Yeah. We're now going to award some points. I'm going to start off with Cody.
Yeah. I don't know what the F you guys are talking about. So, basically, I gave my 2 criteria of what the points were, and I would have to go with Eli on this. Eli kind of spelled it out to me better why he is the character that I would actually, what the voice adds to it. I think Jay did an amazing job on the rebuttal. It almost sold me. But Jake sometimes gets into just throws those jabs away, but they're missing. Like, he wastes his stamina on stuff that doesn't really matter at times. Even though I think they're great, I just think Eli was more concise and right where he wanted to be and landed the punches. That's why I have to give it to Eli. But again, I've never seen any of what you're talking about, so well done.
All right, I'm gonna go to Harley next. Harley, based on arguments provided, who gets your point and why?
Like I said, it's so goddamn close and difficult. Unfortunately, with Caleb, Cody. Sorry. With Cody there, I haven't seen Justice League Unlimited. I've of course seen Batman the Animated, and I know the voice actors. I am picturing the voices in my head. It just I think just because there was a lot of same points made, and I think just based on aggressiveness, I'm going to have to give it to Jay.
Alrighty, so it comes down to me. Interesting. So I love Phil Lamar and Clancy Brown. I haven't watched it religiously, but whenever you guys pitched your arguments, I could hear the voices in my head. Generally, what I got from Eli and Jay, Eli was how Phil Lamar was able to sort of transform his voice a little bit and really give the range. Whereas with Jay, it was like Clancy Brown already has that voice. It was more so Clancy Brown was the perfect fit for Lex Luthor. I'm going to agree with Cody and give my point to Eli because I think Jay had the attack that I originally anticipated. It was like how Phil Lamar's voice can be sort of monotone and flat. And I think Eli had a really good defense of that, and actually gave some examples of how Jon Stewart was able to have romance and stuff, and those moments were sort of sold. So I'm gonna give my point to Eli. But yeah, this match has been getting better and better as the questions move on. So props to you guys. So Eli does move into lead 2-1. All right, guys. So we now move into the speed round portion of the debate. Each question is going to have a 40-second opening followed by a 30-second rebuttal. The competitors know the categories that they have drafted from. Once again, competitors, if I hear you first, you are going to be you're going to debate first. So keep your ears perked while I give the question. Words are tough sometimes. So keep your ears perked while I give you the question. The category that you guys picked is Fox Animated, and your question is as follows. Who is the best character voiced by Seth MacFarlane?
Stewie.
Stewie?
Oh,
I know who I'd go.
son of a bitch. I'm shooting myself in the foot here. I know I am. Stan Smith.
All right, so we have Stewie Griffin against Stan Smith, Family Guy versus American Dad, who will reign supreme in the King of the Hill. That's definitely not a bad. That's an awful analogy. So I heard Stewie Griffin first. Eli, you have 40 seconds. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Stewie Griffin is the breakout character for Family Guy. Whenever you think of Family Guy, a lot of people first think of Stewie because he has a voice sort of similar like this. And I believe Seth MacFarlane, when he plays Stewie, he has the most fun with Stewie because whenever you hear him and when you hear Stewie perform, you always hear a lot of energy in that character. And even more so out of any other characters, Stewie has the most energy out of them. And he is probably the most entertaining character throughout all of Family Guy and even all of Seth MacFarlane's shows.
All right. Jay Burnz, you're arguing Stan Smith. 40 seconds. Time begins whenever you're talking.
All right. So Stan Smith is this character who was a very staunch Reagan-era Republican at the very beginning of American Dad. I almost said Family Guy, son of a bitch. And you see this person who is not only hilarious and you don't agree with at most times grow and become this person who would and should be the dad that Stewie Griffin probably should have. Stan Smith is that comic. Think of Family Guy. I don't think of Stewie. I think of Brian and I think of Peter. And yeah.
Right. We now move into the rebuttals. Mr. Eli, you got 30 seconds. Time begins whenever you're talking.
When I think of Stan Smith, I think of Joe Swanson. They've made that joke multiple times, and that's very true. They're very much similar characters, and Seth MacFarlane plays him like Joe Swanson. Unlike when you listen to Stewie Griffin, he plays it like a British supervillain, and that's what I really enjoy about his character. And Stewie Griffin even is basically a British supervillain, and he very much has a broken out on his own, with even a lot of episodes dedicated to him. When you think of Stan Smith, I don't see any episodes ever focusing on him. I only think about Roger.
Please deduct Roger from the records, please, as that exceeded 30 seconds. Jay, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal. Time begins and every second.
When it comes right down to it, what you think of as Stewie as a British supervillain, first 3 seasons and then nothing. He just becomes this effeminate British person, and it's not even really that much of a joy. Seth MacFarlane has stated that he likes playing Stan Smith more than he likes playing Stewie. Even on the Graham Norton show, he said Stewie is one of his favorite characters, but not his favorite character. It was Stan Smith. Stan Smith is that individual that I think everybody kind of counts out. And there are more episodes about Stan Smith and his life.
All right. Oh man, okay. This is really tough. I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna give my point to Eli. Because I think there was just he presented his argument well, and I think for me what it was is I think I didn't find Jay's rebuttal that like he had a couple of good points, but he didn't quite sell me on just sort of knocking down Stewie. So I'm going to point to Eli, but there are 3 judges, so I am going to go to Cody next. Cody, based on arguments provided, who gets your point and why?
Besides that Stan Smith is that show is the only one of Family Guy or that to make me actually laugh out loud, I think Jay had the better points on this. I think overall he peppered in shots when he needed to, and he went an unconventional route, which I kind of liked. And yeah, so I'm going to give it to Jay.
Right. Harley, so it comes down to you. Yeah, based on arguments provided, who gets your point and why?
Yeah. There's a lot of good points. Eli started off really strong when it came to talking about Stewie and how in the early days, yes, Seth MacFarlane really enjoyed playing Stewie. Stewie was one of his favorites. but unfortunately, this character Stewie kind of petered off a little bit and became relatively one note, and just like as and Jay was attacking it on the effeminate, just British and on the side there, and his love affair with Brian. Whereas Jay was also talking about how Eli said that there's not a lot of episodes about Stan. There are, as a big fans of both shows. There are a lot of episodes focused around Stan Smith, and just arguments and everything. I'm giving it to Jay again.
Okay, so we are tied up yet again, which means that we go into the final question yet
Son of
again.
a fuck.
The question that the category that you guys picked was non-MCU Marvel. Cody and I had a lot of fun with this one, and we gave a question that I thought we think can get pretty heated. So once again, gentlemen, keep your ears perked. If we hear you first, you're going to be going first. Your question is, which is the worst X-Men movie, Last Stand or Apocalypse?
Last Stand.
Last Stand. Which means that Eli's going to be arguing Apocalypse.
Wow. I am so surprised it went that long to let somebody else dictate it. But that's
Son of a bitch. What?
All right.
I'll wait till the after show.
Yeah, the nerdgasm afterthoughts. All right, so Jay, I heard you say Last Stand first. You have 40 seconds for opening. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Apocalypse at least has a fucking clear and definitive approach to what it's trying to make. Last Stand is, Warring Worthington III doesn't want to be fucking Angel anymore. Let me go ahead and make this special serum so that can never happen. That's not even that shouldn't be a thing. We have this just giant mess of an entire movie for what should have been maybe the first or second act of a movie. This is what you don't want in a comic book movie, and it fucked everything up for the entire realm. Everybody was very worried about going forward when it came to comic book movies, and fuck that movie.
Time. Alrighty, Eli, you got 40 seconds. You're arguing why X-Men Apocalypse is the worst X-Men film. You got 40 seconds. Time begins whenever you start talking.
X-Men Apocalypse is the worst X-Men movie because it is filled with a bunch of stereotypes whenever you look at the comic book movies. End of the world, big supervillain that just wants to destroy everyone and destroy human race. You have a bunch of characters that really don't have great motivation, and you have lackluster acting, mainly in Jennifer Lawrence, and lackluster acting in Oscar Isaac. At least when you watch Last Stand, you get a great performance with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. With Apocalypse, you really don't get that many great performances, and even Sophia Turner, who makes her debut as Jean Grey, is not that great as Jean Grey.
All right. Jay, 30-second rebuttal. Time begins when you're talking.
Apocalypse is the better of these two movies. If you asked a crowd of 100 people which one was better, they would definitely say Apocalypse. My movie is bad. You want to talk about stereotypes? Look, they tried to cram as many bad villains, Brotherhood of Mutants, into one forest scene that had absolutely nothing to do with anything. They were just all chilling there. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Oh, I'm going to move the Golden Gate Bridge now? No, it's a bad movie.
Interesting. All right, so Eli, 30-second rebuttal. Time begins whenever you start talking.
At least I'm able to sit down and watch Last Stand and understand a lot of the plot instead of watching X-Men Apocalypse that just has a lot of explosions and a lot of nonsense being thrown at me. X-Men Last Stand has good character interactions between Wolverine, and it has a lot of great character action with Professor Xavier. When I watch X-Men Apocalypse, I just want to gouge my eyes out because all I'm seeing is a lot of CGI nonsense. X-Men Last Stand does not have a lot of CGI nonsense, and I believe X-Men Last Stand is better than X-Men Apocalypse because of that.
Time. Wow. Interesting. All right, so I'm gonna go to Harley first because she broke the tie in the last speed round question, so we'll get her opinion right out of the gate. Based on the arguments provided, who gets your point and why?
First, I just want to state, really, Apocalypse? It's not even one of the worst ones for me. Could have gone X-Men Origins. But yeah, based on the arguments, I'm going to have to just if I can, I gotta give this to Jay.
Okay, so first point is given to Jay. I'm actually going to hand it off to Cody next, as Jay wants to quote Mr. Newberry.
So it kind of battled down to opinion based near the end, especially rebuttals. So I have to kind of strike those from the record. There was good stuff said, but it's like if you fill out 100 people, they would say this movie's bad. If you say that I'd rather watch this than blah, blah, blah. It was a lot of that. But I think Jay mentioned more about the movie. And I think that's where I was swayed, even though I like Apocalypse and I would have been swayed either way. I'm not that one of the judges. I would have to give it to Jay, unfortunately. I mean, sorry, Eli.
Which means that your winner advancing on to the quarterfinals is one Jay Burnz. My vote would not have counted, but I also would have gone with Jay. I think his opening was really solid, and it sort of kept Eli a little under pressure. Sort of had an uphill battle from the get go. But we will go to our winner, Jay Burnz. You are able to do it. Once again. You have the W. How do you feel about your debate performance?
I feel like JTH when he enters into a TV fight or a fucking. I can't believe that I won. You know, the Dumbledore thing was 100%. You're right, out of left field. I prefer Apocalypse to The Last Stand, and it was really difficult trying to argue against that. That was a very surprising last question, and I love the fact that it came down to the last question. Nothing but props to Eli. Eli, you fucking put up the biggest fight that I've ever had. I don't know what that was about, but I had to fight Dominic Rizzi in this motherfucker, and you know that guy. That guy can talk a million miles a minute, and you brought it harder than he did. I respect you as a fucking. Love to see you in this format anytime.
Yeah, I will say before you go to Eli, props to both of you. This was a really good debate. You guys sort of surpassed my expectations for sure. I am going to go to Eli next. Eli, super close round. You did have the lead going into speed round, but unfortunately, you weren't able to carry that momentum in. How do you feel?
Man, it sucks that I lost, but man, I just have fun. I mean, debating Jay was just so much fun. Yeah, when it came down to that last question, I honestly was just thinking, okay, which one can I take? Which one can I tear apart the hardest? And when he took Last Stand, I was like, crap, this is going to be very hard for me because I enjoy Apocalypse. So it was very much like, okay, what are the people that complain about? What are the main complaints that people have about Apocalypse? That's going to be difficult. But yeah, it sucks that I lost, but I mean, I'm glad that I was able to go into the speed round with the lead. But yeah, honestly, it was just fun. Major props to Jay. I hope you do great in your quarterfinal match. And yeah, I really hope to be back.
Thank you, brother.
One last question before we go to the judges' thoughts here. Jay, you are going up against Tim Smith in your next match. The commissioner, the great Gonzo, the emperor that is multiplex. How do you feel?
If he speaks as well as he spells, I should be fine.
Alrighty. Shots fired. I am going to go over to my cohort, my partner in crime, Cody Newberry. Your thoughts on the debate? For me, great performances by both. Nothing to hang your head on.
Yeah, this match was really fun. I'm excited. for Jay moving on to see what he can do. Again, the more we doubt him, the more he improves. So I'm going to stop doubting him, and let's see if he can actually.
No, keep doubting me.
No.
Keep doubting me.
But I'm excited for Eli too, because as 0-1, there is a few people that after this tournament I could pair up to have an awesome battle against. So I'm excited to see, because Eli will definitely be back. Especially last question, that is not that's not even close to not getting another match. We're new at this. This is a new league, but we're getting a championship crowd, and round 2 is now looking insanely competitive. And one person I didn't expect to be there is there, and Jay has to face him. So it's going to be an exciting time.
Alrighty. Harley, very quickly, your thoughts on the match today.
Eli, the one thing that would have gotten my vote guaranteed for the last question there, if you mentioned the Age Apocalypse, the mall scene with the teenagers. If you had mentioned that you have a good chance of getting my vote for that point there. But
all right.
Extremely good match. Jay, of course, I want you to destroy that traitor, the ultimate traitor of all traitors. So you've got my support going forward. So good match, and thanks everyone.
Alrighty. Well, that is going to wrap things up today. I do want to congratulate Jay Burnz on the big W. We'll do our plugs here right quick, and then we'll call it a night. Jay, where can the cool kids of the world find you?
All the important people already know where to find me, but if you're not one of those, you can find me on Facebook at Jay Burnz. You can find me on Instagram at _BarGangBurns. You can find me on Twitter at JBurns253, and you can find me on Instagram at _BarGangBurns, again, because that's where I do most of it.
All right. To our unfortunate loser today, Eli McCaig, where can the cool kids of the world find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. Eli Mac, and you can find me whenever the TV fandom matches start getting posted, because, yeah, I'm in those. I'm in that tournament. Yeah, so, yep.
All right, to our guest judge today, Harley Borick, where can the cool kids of the world find you?
I'm getting back to being on screen after a long hiatus, so basically anywhere, just trying begging to get back into competing. I have missed competing, and something will be revealed soon enough. But until then, you can look forward to me destroying the False King. Finally, I get a one-on-one match with Caleb Cole in Movie Warzone.
Alrighty. As well today, the odd couple that we are, Cody Newberry. Where can the cool kids of the world find you?
You can find me on Take 3 Productions. I'm on 3 shows. You can find me on watch-alongs. We're coming back at the end of January. It will be me, Robert, Matt, and Malcolm. We're going to have 4 movies set up for the month, and then you can tune in to watch us there. You can find me on Thursday with Late Night with Take 3, also known as Brooklyn's Wrong for 2 hours. You can find me on Breakup as the grumpy old man in the corner. Probably not about dogs this week, because I'm not about that, but that will be past, so you can go back and watch that. I don't know what this week is, because this will come out later. You can find me over here at Multiplex now. I am an admin over here, and yeah, Nerdgasms on Saturday.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at TheRealBK10, the number, not the word. You can also find me right here on Multiplex Entertainment running Nerdgasm on Saturdays with Cody Newberry. Be sure to check out the entirety of matches in round 1. Also, you can also find me on Take 3 Productions running not 1 but 2 shows: Jukebox Trivia, Music Trivia, Debate, and Countdowns. Be sure to check out the upcoming season that will be starting in January or in February. And as Cody mentioned, Late Night with Take 3, also known as Brooklyn is Wrong for 2 hours, the Topical Pop Culture Podcast show. Be sure to check out our episode that dropped on January 31st, our return, our Super Bowl episode, which is going to be very exciting, very fun. And throughout the community, Full Metal Media Multiplex, always jobbing to better. So for Cody, for Eli, for Harley, for Jay, I am Wagner Brooklyn Vale. Cheers, guys. And as always,